Hi, everyone. John Kindervag here. Welcome to Zero Trust Summit 2023. You may know me as the creator of Zero Trust. I'm also an advisor to the Cloud Security Alliance, and I am now the chief evangelist of a company called Illumio. My background is as a practitioner. I was a security engineer, architect, all those kinds of things. But then I went over to Forrester Research, and in 2010, I created the concept of Zero Trust. And I've been gratified to see how it's moved into a movement. And so now I'm over at Illumio and still working with the Cloud Security Alliance to continue messaging this and bringing it to the world. So really excited for this opportunity to talk to you. Today, we are going to be talking about things run amok, leveraging Zero Trust to protect IoT and OT assets. And so I've done a lot of this work before. This is real world experience, and I've written about it. And so hopefully you can get some benefit from it. But first, we're going to start off with a poem, which is kind of odd, I know. But I wrote a poem in 2014 called Things Run Amok. It's if Dr. Seuss could comment upon the Internet of Things, this is what he might say. So let's read a poem, shall we? You've never started one of these with poetry before, I know. We live in a world all interconnected, but how in the world will it all get protected? Some bad boys and girls will try to infect it, making the internet all broken-necked. When Timmy B. Lee created the net, he just couldn't see it would be such a threat. People are nice, and they'll do the right thing. But wow, it turns out that people are mean. All of the futurists cackle with glee now that we've given each thing IP. IP, a magical protocol that sets all things free. The cat in the hat had thing one and thing two. Think of the mischief that those two could do. But what if he had a thing three and thing four? More mischief they'll add as we add more and more. Soon we'll be so exceedingly thinged, it seems the darn things have grown wings. A thing zillion of these will drive us all crazy, so we better make sure we don't all get lazy. What is a thing, I hear you dare ask? The effort of answering has become quite a task. A thing is something that's real, I would think, that whirls or spins, it moves or it blinks. A thing has a tiny computer that talks with other things, or even humans that walk. Maybe you control your thing from your phone and manage your thing when you're not at home. Some of your things I'm sure you will wear, wrapped on your arm or stuck in your hair. Some wish so hard for things they can drive, pushing bright buttons on a digital ride. Think of having things fill your kitchen. You'll tap on your iPad to make dinner bitchin'. Your fridge is a thing that will keep your spam cold, but it will send spam out too if the hackers get hold. See, hackers will look for things they can break and then find some juicy data to take. Your data they will then turn into cash, and your reputation they will turn into trash. This is the future of things run amok if all that you do is rely on your luck. So put on your thing hat and think, and consider your things that whirl, spin, or blink. Carefully protect your things from all hackers so that your company doesn't get smackered. It's a whole different world than when Timmy B. Lee created the web world for you and for me. There you go. So this was written as a Forrester Research blog in 2014, and then ZDNet picked it up. And every once in a while, I send it out in social media because, well, it's a good reminder in kind of a fun way of one of the issues that we're dealing with, Internet of Things, IT, IoT, OT. They're all becoming the same kind of thing, aren't they? And it was kind of prescient in its own way. It was written before we had our Apple Watches and our Tesla cars, which are all things. You know, a Tesla car is really an electronic device with wheels. So we need to figure out how we're going to protect it. And Zero Trust does a good job of doing that. I've used it a lot. Other people have used it a lot. We have the manufacturers of IoT and OT devices talking about this. But let's give a precise definition of it. So this is my definition of it. And of course, I created it. So it's pretty precise and pretty accurate. So zero trust, what is it? Well, it is a strategy designed to stop data breaches. Let's look at this first word, strategy, right? That's the important thing. We're not talking about a product. We're talking about a strategy, a big idea that we use to achieve big goals, right? And this one is designed to stop data breaches. Now, data we hear all the time is the new oil. Well, that probably doesn't resonate with as many people as it does with me because I live in Texas. And here in West Texas, we have West Texas crude out in the Permian Basin. That is the benchmark price for crude oil. I don't know what it is today. I didn't look, but the thing about oil that relates to data is that in its raw form, it has a certain value, but the more you refine it, the more valuable it gets. So when you refine crude oil into gasoline, jet fuel, aviation fuel, plastic, graphite, nanotubes, all those things, it becomes more and more valuable, and that's true with data. So highly refined data is more valuable than raw data. And so we need to protect that data from being stolen. And so when we talk about a breach, this is where it kind of confuses people in cybersecurity because we think of a breach as somebody got into our network. They're looking around. We breached the castle walls, which was fine in the old days, but a breach has been redefined for us by legal and regulatory entities like GDPR, CCPA, PCI. And they all say a breach occurs when data that is regulated or sensitive has been exfiltrated from our networks or systems. It's about stuff moving outbound, not stuff coming inbound. We don't spend much time looking at outbound traffic. In fact, that's what spurned zero trust was the old policies where we had trust models on firewalls said that all traffic could go outbound because inbound, the inside interface was trusted and the outside interface was untrusted. So you don't need a policy. Just let everything go outbound because the only thing that matters is what's coming in. And that turned out to be really, really wrong. And the other thing zero trust does is prevents other cyber attacks from being successful, right? There's two kinds of cyber attacks in the world. There's successful ones and unsuccessful ones. And I hope you'll agree with me that the kind that we want to deal with are the unsuccessful ones. We want to turn all attacks into unsuccessful attacks. Now, we can never stop the attack from starting because we'd have to be the attacker, wouldn't we? But we can find attacks happening and make them unsuccessful. And we do this by eliminating trust from digital systems. This is always bad. It is always bad to have trust in a digital system. And so I don't even know where that started in the digital world, but I tell people all the time, it's always a bad thing. So trust is a dangerous vulnerability. What do you do with vulnerabilities in your organization? You mitigate them, don't you? So you must mitigate trust because the only entity who has value from trust in your organization are the malicious actors who are going to exploit it. So I use this image of President Barack Obama's 2009 inauguration parade to explain what we're doing with zero trust. This is the best visual metaphor I've come up with. So there are three things that the Secret Service knows about the President of the United States that we don't know about our data or assets. First, it knows who the president is. The Secret Service doesn't do presidential discovery projects. They don't scan for the president. Second, they know where the president is at all times. They never go, hey, we've lost the president. Have you seen him? No, that doesn't happen. And third, they know who should have access to the president at any given time. These are the three fundamental questions you ask when you're protecting anything, whether it is data, assets, or the president of the United States. Now, on this day, this was January 20th, 2009, I believe, there was a perimeter. But make note of this. This uniformed Secret Service agent, they all have their hands in their pockets. They have what looks to be warm hats covering their ears. I'm guessing their coats are zipped up. It kind of looks like that. They do not look like they're ready to prevent any kind of attack. They're there to intimidate, knock down the low-hanging fruit. And the real protection is being done down here at the bottom of the screen at what I call the protect surface. You see, in Zero Trust, we shrink the attack surface down orders of magnitude to something small and easily known. So on this day, there are 4 individuals in the protect surface: the president, his wife, and his 2 daughters. That's it. That's all that matters to the Secret Service. If at the end of the day, those 4 people are still alive, the Secret Service has done their job. If something happens to this person up here, well, it's a shame. They'll send flowers, but their job is not to protect everybody. It's to protect the president and his family. My friend, retired General Greg Toohill over at CERT, often quotes Frederick the Great, who said, when you try to protect everything, you protect nothing. So now we're going to protect the protect surface. And we'll see here the Secret Service do something really amazing. They move their controls in adjacent to the protect surface. We don't do this in cybersecurity. Our controls are on the perimeter or on the endpoint. And this is as far away as we can possibly get from the thing we're trying to protect. And this creates a secondary attack surface that we call the internal network. And it's because of this we have the idea of dwell time. You know, we shouldn't have the concept of dwell time. The dwell time is when the attackers have been in our environments for days, weeks, months, years, sometimes even decades, and no one noticed it. Because there's a whole lot of empty space here before you get to the thing that's protected, right? That's supposed to be protected, but it's not, because the controls are in the wrong place. So by moving the controls in adjacent to the protect surface, the Secret Service creates a micro perimeter around the protect surface. And this micro perimeter has a very small set of policies. So for example, on this day, only 2 individuals were going to be allowed to transit outbound of the protect surface, because the other individuals in the beast, the vehicle, were the protect surface itself. And so they will always have a micro perimeter around them. And then let's look at this Secret Service agent down here, because there's a deny all rule by default in Zero Trust. So this Secret Service agent doesn't have his hands in his pockets, no hat on, and his coat is unbuttoned, because underneath his coat, he has a control where he is going to enforce policy. And so if someone comes here trying to get inside the micro perimeter without authorization, he is going to, it's going to be a bad day. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be a bad day for that person. And so that's Zero Trust in a nutshell from a protection side, but the Secret Service doesn't stop there. They continuously monitor and update in real time. So they'll look out into the crowd, and they might see somebody that looks sketchy. So they'll say, hey, take a look, keep an eye out on the guy in the white shirt over here. He looks a little sketch. They might do that. Or another thing that happens quite frequently is they'll get a message to their command and control, and they'll relay it on. You know, you can see these people talking into their wrists, right? And so maybe someday they'll have an IoT device in their wrist, and they won't have to put, a microphone there. But right now there's a microphone strapped to their wrist. You've seen it in movies. And so they can get information out to these agents and say, hey, we have an important person that needs to come get inside the beast. And so they can change the inbound rule temporarily, and that person will leave and it'll go back to its other state. And so this is a Zero Trust model of executive protection. And in fact, this is how you protect anything, whether it is data, assets, or the president of the United States. Now, what you should do is follow my 5-step methodology for deploying Zero Trust. This is codified in the NSTAC report if you want to read more about it. But I will tell you that you will always be successful if you follow this model. So the first thing you're going to do is define the protect surface. What are you going to protect? And that's known as a DAS element. This stands for data, assets, applications, or services. So in this case, we're going to be looking at OT assets, right? So that is one of the DAS elements we're going to do. So we're going to take a DAS element, we're going to put it into an individual protect surface, and we're going to build this out one protect surface at a time. So Zero Trust then becomes 3 things. It's incremental. You do it one at a time. It's iterative. You do it one after another, and that makes it non-disruptive. All that you can screw up is one protect surface. Once you've done that and put your OT asset in the protect surface, you're going to map the transaction flows. You're going to see how the system works as a system, because that's going to show you how to create the environment, what controls you need to put in place. every zero trust environment, if it's done right, has an environment that's defined by the protect surface, custom built for the protect surface. So once we get to step 5, we're gathering all the telemetry from that protect surface and re-injecting it back into the system. This creates what's known as an anti-fragile environment. And so this is a term I got from a book by Taleb. He gave me the vocabulary to talk about what I wanted to do in cybersecurity, which was create an environment that gets stronger and stronger under load. He calls this anti-fragility. So he uses the human body as an example. When you need to lose weight, you lift weights, you run, you bike, you diet. All of these things are huge stressors to your body, but your body adapts to the stress. And the same thing is true in cybersecurity. When we stress a cybersecurity system, we put it under load, it gets stronger and stronger so we can make it anti-fragile. And then the first thing we're doing really in OT security is creating a segment. So we're going to take the protect surface and we're going to look at our OT environment, and our OT environment is going to be a wind farm. So I'll just do WF here for the wind farm. And we have a PLC that we're going to control in here that's controlling that. Now we know why we are segmenting. So important. Most people who start segmenting the network don't know why they do it. They know it's a best practice, but why am I really doing it? The only reason to segment the network is to protect something. And so we'll take a segmentation gateway, connect it to the protect surface to create a micro perimeter in policy. And this tells us how we're enforcing that segmentation. And then we'll have a management system that creates policy centrally. And now this is the reference architecture for zero trust. We're now protecting this wind farm. We can do it, externally with the segmentation gateway. And if this wind farm has certain operating systems, we can actually deploy agents to it to provide this segmentation inside of its, technology, right? So it's pretty cool what can be done now. And then we'll just build other protect surfaces around here. So again, this is why I said it becomes incremental, iterative, and non-disruptive. The most you can screw up is one of these things. And so, hey, that's not too bad. Everybody's worried about doing this because they're afraid they're going to break something. Make sure if you do, you break something very small. And so we've taken and put zero trust using that to create bite-sized chunks that we can improve cybersecurity with. And then we're going to create policy. And so this is called the Kipling method. I did this as an homage to the writer Rudyard Kipling, who gave us the idea of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who should have access via what application? When should that happen? Where is it located? Why are we doing it? And how should it be done? So we can create simple, easy to read, easy to write, and easy to audit policies. In this example, the who is wind farm users. The what is Modbus, a common IoT kind of ICS protocol. So you'll see that all the time. When, anytime, we want it running all the time. Where is the wind farm number 1 PLC? And then we're going to look at some metadata about it. We're going to send that to our SIM or our SOAR. And if that is true, then we'll allow it. Zero trust is a set of granular allow rules. And this is essentially a conduit as defined by IACS 62443. That's super important to remember because you're going to move towards 62443. And this policy, a Kipling method policy, is the same thing as a conduit as it's described in 62443. So where do you start? Well, we have the zero trust learning curve where we look at the sensitivity or criticality of the protect surface over time. And we'll describe a curve here where we look at everything on a per protect surface basis. So early on, we're going to do a low sensitivity system so we can learn how to do it. And after that, we'll focus on some things that are a little bit more sensitive, but not mission critical. So you get to zero trust the same way you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice. And then after that, we'll focus on our high value assets, our crown jewels, our critical systems, keys to the kingdom, whatever you want to call them. And then we'll bring other things in over time. And this makes this consumable. And of course, you get to decide, hey, this is the threshold where everything below that isn't sensitive enough, right? Because here's our sensitivity scale, isn't sensitive enough to even go into a zero trust environment. I've seen people protect things that they're trying to give away for free and spend millions of dollars doing it. That makes no sense. So zero trust works for OT. There's no doubt about it. I've done it over and over again. I know it's a controversial statement, but it does. So my advice to you is start now. So I want to thank you for your time today. And, people kind of know how to find me if they have questions. But thanks to the Cloud Security Alliance for doing this virtual summit. It's an honor to be in front of you. And I hope you have a great rest of the summit. Thank you.